41 Action News starts right now.
An early morning tragedy after a deadly fire claimed 2 young lives. Hear from the family of the victims as investigators try to figure out the cause. Outrage from coast to coast, the nationwide shock and horror to the violence in Charlottesville. And where we go from here. All right, for us here in Kansas City, the heat and humidity return. Let's get right over to meteorologist Jeff Pinner.
I know, another nice summer day outside there as we're having some cumulus clouds once again build, just like they did yesterday. Not expecting them to turn into any thunderstorms. A few yesterday turned into thunderstorms up near and west of St. Joseph, but just a great summer day. It is mild, 80 right now, KCI, and Topeka it's 80, 81. Remember, this is the dog days of summer, and the average high is still in the upper 80s. And right now we're just about where we should be, maybe a little cooler for this time of year. And today we'll get right at or just below that average of 88 for the high, 80 in Lawrence, 77 Garnett, 76 in Hiawatha. And so today at 2 p.m. 85, 4 p.m. 87, partly cloudy, warm and humid, a light south breeze, but pretty significant change in the forecast for Wednesday. We'll take a look at the chance of thunderstorms with the new data here in a few minutes. Cynthia.
All right, Jeff, we'll see you then. New information this midday on that overnight deadly fire in Overland Park. 2 children were killed in the fire. We now know the mother of those children has been released from the hospital. 41 Action News reporter Charlie Keegan is at the scene near 89th and Metcalf with what he's learned about the victims this midday. Charlie.
Cynthia, I spoke with a woman here at the scene who identified herself as the aunt of the 2 children who died in this fire. She said that the 2 children were a 3-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy. I'm going to step out of the way and show you the apartment complex where this took place. You can see some investigators outside right now and charred, burned siding along that apartment unit. All day, investigators have been going in and out of that front door. The goal of the Overland Park Fire Department right now is to find out what ignited this fire. Crews rushed to the Colonial Gardens apartment here at about 2:30 this morning. A spokesperson told us that crews saw at least 2 people jump from a second-floor unit, all to escape the flames. It appears that the fire, though, started on the first floor of this apartment complex. Listen now to a neighbor describe this fire.
I saw a bunch of red and ashes flying, and so I just grabbed my baby. I didn't even put shoes on or anything and just ran outside.
The fire chief says it does not appear that the smoke detector worked inside the unit where this fire started. Ahead at 11:30, we'll talk more about the concerns that is raising for neighbors here at the apartment complex. In Overland Park, I'm Charlie Keegan for 41 Action News today.
Well, there is officially a new top lawman in Kansas City. Richard C. Smith this morning was sworn in as the new chief of the Kansas City Police Department. He's previously served as a major within the department. Go to kshb.com to learn about the 3 goals Chief Smith has for the department. Former Chief Darryl Forte retired in May. Let's take a live look now at the I-35-69 highway interchange in Johnson County. There it is. The ramp from southbound 35 to southbound 69 is back open this midday. Last night, the ramp had to be closed because of this semi-truck rollover crash. Emergency responders were worried that the semi would leak hazardous materials. Fortunately, first responders at the scene were able to prevent a leak. All right, this local priest charged with sex crimes is due in court today. Father Scott Kalal is accused of inappropriately touching an 11-year-old girl in 2015. The crime allegedly happened at St. Patrick Church in KCK. Kalal was suspended last month by church leaders. He was arrested in Maryland, where the church had sent him for evaluation. New information this midday about the reason a man was murdered last July. Prosecutors told us it was a robbery gone wrong. Police said Eric Womack killed Anthony Clark on July 21st near a car wash near Independence Avenue and Lawndale. According to witnesses, Womack and another person went to meet Clark under the pretense of a drug deal. Investigators believe Womack was planning to rob Clark, but ended up shooting and killing Clark when Clark grabbed the woman who was with Womack. All right, more protests across the country following the deadly violence over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. And there is new fallout over President Trump's delay in strongly condemning white supremacists. Tom Costello is in Charlottesville with more.
as anti-hate demonstrators took to the streets, tearing down this Confederate monument. It was another statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee that was at the heart of the weekend violence in Charlottesville. On Monday, the man accused of ramming his car into a crowd at that rally appeared in court. 20-year-old James Alex Fields says he understands the charges against him: second-degree murder, malicious wounding, and hit and run. According to police records, he's had previous run-ins with the law.
I don't really understand.
Accused of threatening his mother, Samantha Bloom, with a knife back in 2011 when he was just 14. Fields is now charged with killing 32-year-old Heather Heyer, who was protesting the white supremacists gathered in Charlottesville. Her grieving father now speaking out.
Proud of her for standing up. She had more courage than I did.
Among the 19 people injured in the crash, 20-year-old Natalie Romero, an ROTC student at UVA who suffered a fractured skull. Her mother in Texas.
The guy has to pay for this, and we need to be strong, and these kind of crimes has to stop.
James Alex Fields now being held without bond, and this photo of him standing among white nationalists going viral. Online, people across the country have been banding together, exposing people who attended the white nationalist rally, making sure their neighbors, employers, and schools all know about their names and their affiliations. University of Nevada, Reno student Peter Satanovich was one of the protesters who was named and shamed. He says he received death threats and calls to be expelled.
You can call me a Nazi, you can hate my ideology, but I wouldn't threaten anyone.
His university, under pressure, releasing a statement saying in part, "We remain firm in our commitment in denouncing all forms of bigotry and racism." Cole White resigned from his job as a cook at Top Dog Restaurant in Berkeley, California, after he was identified on Twitter. His former employer posting this letter on the front doors saying White no longer works at Top Dog. We have seen several websites, hosting services, GoDaddy and Google, both say that they will no longer allow neo-Nazi websites to be hosted on their services, and Facebook says it is cracking down on posts that glorify what happened here on Saturday, as there seems to be this very public backlash against racist rhetoric and violence. I'm Tom Costello in Charlottesville. Back to you.
All right, it's time to head back to the classroom when your kid goes back to school. Also, the nuclear showdown with North Korea is putting a strain on U.S. relations with other allies. You're watching 41 Action News, clear, complete coverage. Right now, some local kids are on their very first lunch break of the new school year. In Kansas, 10th and 12th graders in Gardner are having their first day of classes. Blue Valley starts tomorrow, Bonner Springs and Olathe start on Thursday. In Missouri, the North Kansas City School District, Blue Springs, Liberty, and Lee Summit all start tomorrow. Independent students go back to school on Thursday.
There's a cluster of thunderstorms right now in southern Iowa getting close to northern Missouri. It is a sign of things to come. Severe weather, flooding. We'll talk about all that potential coming up here in just a few minutes. You're watching 41 Action News. Clear, complete coverage.
A top U.S. military officer is in China talking about tensions with North Korea. Marine Corps General Joseph Dunford arrived today in Beijing. He's meeting with his Chinese counterpart. Beijing is North Korea's biggest economic partner and source of aid. The general is hoping to convince the Chinese to work with the United States to reduce the nuclear threat from North Korea. A massive military exercise is happening this midday with U.S. Marines in northern Japan. The parachute drop is part of Operation Northern Viper.
Everything that we're doing up here in Northern Viper is to increase our combined collective defense capabilities as two nations come together. We are, I believe, strategically important in the region, ensuring the safety and security of the Indo-Asia Pacific while stationed in Okinawa, Japan, and overall Northern Viper.
The drills are not related to U.S. tensions with North Korea. The 18-day live fire exercise with rocket artillery drills is an annual exercise. 3,500 troops are involved, and it continues through next week. Protesters gather today in Seoul, South Korea. They are upset over delays with implementing a missile defense system. Officials in Seoul and Washington agreed last year to install the missile defense battery. Parts of that defense system have been installed, but the new South Korean administration wants the missile system to undergo environmental and legal testing before it's fully deployed. Well, South Korea's President Moon is calling on the United States to use diplomacy to stop the threat of war. NBC's Bill Neely is following the story.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford, has been here in Seoul to reassure a very nervous ally. South Korea anxious that it's being ignored by President Trump, and as an ally that it's being sidelined rather than being consulted. So Joseph Dunford met with the defense minister and with the president and reassured them that really diplomacy and economic pressure against North Korea is taking center stage right now.
That's what we're prepared for. And that's what we're trying to have a diplomatic and an economic pressurization campaign to preclude him from enhancing his capabilities.
President Moon of South Korea has his own reassurance to do. As I say, people here very nervous. He called on the U.S. in one of his strongest statements yet to stop any possible war and that diplomacy should be at the forefront of everything. And also saying that he's certain the U.S. will act calmly and responsibly. He also called on North Korea once again to stop threatening, to stop provoking, to stop worsening the situation. Well, it wouldn't be a typical day if North Korea didn't make its own statement, and in state media it has been saying that any accidental event could lead to a nuclear war, and it said don't take our warnings lightly. China, for its part today, began to tighten the screw on North Korea. Remember, China, North Korea's main ally, its main trading partner. China said from September the 5th it would begin to stop importing imports of coal, iron ore and fish, and that, in line with UN sanctions, will undoubtedly put pressure on the North Korean economy, and that is what Joseph Dunford, who was here today, would like. And he goes from here on to Beijing. Back to you.
Again, as he reported, China said on September 5th it will stop importing coal, iron ore and fish from North Korea. All right, Jeff, it's lovely out again today, but we've had a good long run and now we're looking for storms.
Yeah, there's a chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. We're going to time it out the best we can and kind of start to look at the eclipse coming up here. Let's take a look out the weather for that as well. Outside right now, we just have some fair weather cumulus clouds. They've been building up each afternoon, but not building to cumulonimbus clouds where there's any thunderstorms. Now, yesterday there were a few west of St. Joseph. Not really expecting any here today. Just another beautiful summer day, warm and humid here on our American Century Investment Sky View Network. Look at the beautiful cumulus clouds, a few cirrus clouds. Some of the haze we've had in the air is smoke from the fires up in Canada, so that's contributing to the haze along with the higher humidity. It is right now 80 degrees, the dew point is high at 72, and we have a light south breeze at about 8 miles per hour. Last night, some thunderstorms formed up in Nebraska, but they stayed up to the north there, and they continue to move across I-80 and just south of there, and there are some thunderstorms up in southern Iowa. These will stay to the north here through the day, although a few may clip northern Missouri here in the next few hours. But this is a sign of things to come, as this is just the first in a series of disturbances that'll move out at us on Wednesday and then followed by a cold front. And so for today, though, with the disturbances up to the north, partly cloudy, warm and humid with temperatures in the 80s. So let's time out the rain situation for tomorrow. 7 a.m., a pretty good chance. Area of rain and thunderstorms will be off to our south and west or already in the area and affect the morning rush hour. I would say about an 80% chance of that. Not expecting severe weather, but there could be some very heavy downpours, and not really expecting any widespread flooding because they're moving along. They're not going to repeat over the same locations for several hours. Then this disturbance moves out and we get a break in the afternoon, although there's a slight chance of thunderstorms. We'll see how much sun breaks out. If it warms up well into the 80s, then the thunderstorms that form along this front could be strong tomorrow night. But if there's more clouds and it stays in the upper 70s to low to mid 80s, then the thunderstorms along this front will be there. They would just be heavy and maybe not that severe. And again, they're along a cold front. They're not going to run along it for several hours. So again, we're not expecting any major flash flooding because around 10 p.m. to midnight, the next round comes in and then it moves off. And by Thursday morning, it is gone with temperatures in the 60s and the clouds lingering. And then Thursday is going to end up being a really nice day. Sunshine, 80s, less humid, a little northwesterly breeze, and the whole storm system has moved off. How much rain are we expecting out of this next situation here, this next rainfall event? We are looking at about a half to 1 inch of rain or so with the area, and a few locations could see 2 or 3 inches of rain as we go through the afternoon and evening. But basically, we're looking at just not a big severe weather event, not a big flash flooding event in Kansas City. And as we look at the forecast for tomorrow, or for today, let's look at the forecast. Partly cloudy, warm and humid conditions for today. 87 degrees, 81 at 8 p.m., a nice evening. Midnight, 76 degrees. And on the bus stop forecast for tomorrow at 8 a.m., I think the kids are going to need an umbrella with a pretty good chance for some thunderstorms. 71, 30% chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon and then more in the evening. And on the 7-day forecast, we are looking at a situation where the good chance of rain tomorrow. Thursday and Friday look great. There is a chance of thunderstorms Friday night and Saturday morning. And we don't have it in the forecast, but there is a chance for some rain Sunday night into early Monday. But the new data is encouraging that the clouds will get out of here in time for the eclipse, or at least the rain will. Maybe it's not totally sunny for the eclipse, but even if the clouds are thin or broken, it'll still be quite an experience.
We'll be able to see something.
Yeah, we just don't want total overcast.
We don't. All right, let's hope. Fingers crossed, Jeff.
Right.
Thank you. Massive mudslides in Sierra Leone's capital killed more than 300 people and destroyed dozens of buildings. Government officials and aid groups are working to help survivors in this West African nation. They are also trying to find more than 600 missing people. Officials say the death toll is expected to rise. A French prosecutor believes the man who drove his car into a pizzeria and killed a girl was under the influence of drugs. The prosecutor last night opened a homicide investigation into this attack on Monday east of Paris. Investigators did not find any explosives. The car was the only weapon. The prosecutor has ruled out terrorism. A man is accused of plotting to bomb a bank in downtown Oklahoma City. Jerry Drake Farnell is accused of that crime.
This was a large bomb. This was a 1,000-pound bomb. If you want to compare it in size, the Oklahoma City bombing was 6,000 pounds. But that's not to minimize the damage that this bomb would have caused to the buildings.
The investigation began in December when the FBI was tipped off by a concerned citizen. An undercover agent then posed as a person who could help Farnell carry out the bombing. Authorities said Farnell was planning to act alone, but the investigation continues. A grand jury indictment is expected. All right, we are the perfect spot for the once-in-a-lifetime event. What causes a solar eclipse? We're going to talk about that coming up next. You're watching 41 Action News, clear, complete coverage. Here it comes. The first coast-to-coast total solar eclipse in nearly a century is happening in less than a week, which raises the question, exactly what is a total solar eclipse? Erica Edwards takes a look at the science behind this celestial sight.
Many, many moons ago, a darkening sun in the middle of the day was seen as a bad omen. In ancient China, a dragon was said to eat the sun. Ancient Greeks thought a solar eclipse meant the gods were angry and imminent doom was certain. Now modern science proves total solar eclipses are nothing scary or surprising.
The eclipses are now essentially perfectly predictable, right? The motions of these planets are very well understood.
It's a simple trick of geometry that makes the moon completely cover something 400 times bigger.
The key is that the moon is 400 times closer to us, so they appear to be the same exact size, which allows us to have this beautiful solar eclipse.
The stars must align perfectly for a solar eclipse, the sun, the moon, and the earth all in a neat row for the moon to cast its shadow on us. And scientists are geeking out.
The most amazing astronomical event that anyone can observe, and that's a total solar eclipse.
It's a deep understanding of the imperfect surfaces of the moon and the Earth, with their peaks and valleys that allow astronomers to predict exactly where the eclipse will be visible and give us solar gifts like the diamond ring that appeared just before totality.
And that's actually where the light from the sun is shining through the valleys on the edge of the moon.
A cosmic conclusion, thanks to astronomers. We're no longer afraid of the dark. Erica Edwards, NBC News.
The Great American Total Solar Eclipse is this coming Monday. Go to kshb.com to find out where you can see it right here in the Kansas City Metro.
An overnight fire leaves 2 children dead. Coming up at midday, find out where the investigation into what caused that fire stands.
This is the Now.
Breaking news.
Well, things are calm right now, but tomorrow, well, we could be looking at storms, Jeff.
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. We'll look at that here in a few minutes. But outside today, we have some cumulus clouds, and they are building. They've been building just about every day for the last week, and most of the time they do not form into cumulonimbus clouds or thunderstorms. But there's a front stalled to our north, and a storm system and a series of disturbances will be coming out of the west, and eventually we're going to have bigger cumulus clouds, cumulonimbus clouds tomorrow that'll form into thunderstorms. But right now, and all thunderstorms right now are up along and just south of I-80, and we should be dry today with temperatures right about where they should be for this time of year, in the upper 80s. Right now it is 80 at KCI, 82 downtown, 81 in Lee Summit, 82 Richmond, 79 in Hiawatha, 77 in Garnett. Just a nice summer day. 85 at 2, 87 at 4, 86 at 6 p.m. Partly cloudy, warm and humid. Tomorrow will definitely be different than today weather-wise, and we'll look at all that here with the new data in a few minutes. Cynthia.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Well, firefighters continue investigating what caused a fire that killed 2 children ages 3 and 5. 41 Action News reporter Charlie Keegan is at the Colonial Gardens Apartments this midday. Charlie?
Cynthia, the fire chief told us it appears the smoke detector inside the unit that caught fire did not work. And I want to point out that unit to you right now. If I step out of the way, you can see where the investigators are going in and out, and the black burn marks along the siding of that apartment complex. Neighbors on both sides tell me that they also did not have smoke detectors going off inside their units. In all, paramedics took 7 people to the hospital after this fire, and now the fire department is in the midst of what it calls a thorough investigation to determine what caused this fire. As far as for those smoke detectors, the Colonial Gardens Apartments complex here said it is in the lease that tenants are responsible for maintaining the smoke detectors, making sure that batteries are in those smoke detectors after they move in. We've spoken with several neighbors here who say they are now going to be double checking and making sure that their smoke detectors are working now.
Ours didn't go off, so I had to find out by looking out my window, and I can't imagine what would happen if I didn't look out my window.
Paramedics rushed the mother of the 2 children who died to the hospital for minor burns. We've confirmed now at 11:30 that she is out of the hospital this morning. Unfortunately, though, her 3-year-old boy, 3-year-old girl, and 5-year-old boy did pass away in the fire, although we're told 2 other siblings did survive this fire. Right now, her family is asking for your thoughts and prayers as they cope with this tragedy. In Overland Park, I'm Charlie Keegan for 41 Action News.
Such a sad story. Thank you, Charlie. Right now, city leaders are meeting to discuss the future of Kansas City International Airport. 4 companies have submitted proposals for the single terminal project. AECOM's proposal features a sky bridge and restaurants. This is video the company released yesterday. Burns and McDonnell boast their plan would cut down on the walking distance from curbside to security. JLL promises shorter taxi times with a new airport train to replace shuttles. They're also planning larger gate holding rooms. Go to kshb.com for a closer look at all of these proposals. Now, we have not received the proposal from Edgemoor. Kansas City leaders are deciding now if they should use public or private money to fund the multi-million-dollar project. Leaders plan to put the issue on a vote this fall. Well, the City Planning Commission delayed debating a controversial plan for Westport. The commission was supposed to debate a plan today to privatize 2 areas in Westport on weekends. Supporters argue the special areas will make Westport safer because right now police can only screen for hidden weapons on private property, not public streets. Happening right now, the former mayor of Lawrence is being sentenced. Jeremy Farmer pled guilty to stealing from Just Food, where he was executive director. Farmer believes he only deserves probation. He resigned from the Lawrence City Commission when it was revealed that he failed to pay more than $50,000 in taxes. The widow of a fallen police officer is suing the man accused of killing her husband. Crescinda Michael filed a wrongful death suit against Ian McCarthy. He's accused of shooting and killing Clinton police officer Gary Michael during a traffic stop last week. McCarthy has already pled not guilty to murder charges. A survey examined which groups are more likely to take medication to ease symptoms of depression. The National Center for Health Statistics reports that women are almost twice as likely as men to take antidepressants. About 16% of females over the age of 12 and about 8% of males said they took an antidepressant sometime between 2011 and 2014. Whites overall were more likely to take antidepressants compared with all other races. Children who don't get enough sleep may have a higher risk of diabetes. That's according to a new British study of 9 and 10-year-olds. Researchers found kids who slept just 1 hour less a night weighed more and had higher levels of blood glucose and insulin resistance. They recommended that increasing sleep time by just a half an hour could actually lower the risk of type 2 diabetes. Well, stroke is the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States, and it affects hundreds of thousands of people. Jennifer Lanzini tells us about a stroke survivor who found a unique way to cope.
Stroke is the leading cause of serious long-term disability in the United States. Each year, almost 800,000 people suffer a stroke. One of those victims is Contessa Siders. She suffered her stroke just 2 weeks after her grandmother did. It's something Contessa never thought would happen to her, especially at such a young age.
I did not think that it was going to happen to me because I was, at the time, 33.
The stroke has shaken Contessa's life in more ways than one.
It has changed my life because I can't talk. It is hard to read and write. Words up here don't come out here.
One weekend every year, the camp brings victims and their loved ones together for a getaway.
It really is a time for them to not only relax. We've had survivors, spouses that haven't had their nails done in 2 years.
The camp provides games, a dance, spa treatments, campfires, and crafts, among other things. Campers also connect with other survivors to learn and gain strength from one another.
In the survivor discussions, there are discussions about what are we struggling with? What are we struggling with physically and emotionally? And with the spouses and families, it's about what are we struggling with too?
The goal of the camp is to help survivors and caregivers improve their quality of life. And for Contessa Siders, her goal at Stroke Camp is to let go of the pain she has to live with every single day.
A big move by the man picked to be the next leader of the Kansas City Chiefs. How close we are to seeing a new man taking snaps. And yet another person who helped the president boost the economy is cutting ties with Trump. Why the head of one of the biggest tech companies is stepping away. You're watching 41 Action News, clear complete coverage.
41 Action News is sponsored by Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Well, the Kansas City Royals are still in the thick of the race for the playoffs. They beat the Oakland Athletics last night 6-2 with the win. The Royals are just a game, well, they're actually a half game out of the wild card spot. The boys in blue are riding a 3-game winning streak. They look like they could make 4 when they take on the A's again tonight at 9:05. Let's see what happens. Go Royals. Colorado Rockies pitcher Chad Bettis returned to the mound Monday night for the first time in nearly a year after being diagnosed with testicular cancer in November. He said that he felt like a kid at a Christmas store when he found out last night that he would be, well, making his season debut. Bettis threw an amazing 7 innings of shutout baseball in his return to help the Rockies win. What a game. Now to the gridiron. The Chiefs are back at it, trying to bounce back from a tough preseason loss. They lost to the 49ers 27-17, but it wasn't all bad news. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes showed flashes of brilliance. The Texas Tech product impressed the team so much that he was moved up to the second string on the depth chart. The Chiefs are practicing right now before a game against the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday.
It's warm. It's very humid out. We have some clouds building up right now. We're not expecting thunderstorms today, but that's going to change tomorrow. Could we see any flooding? We'll look at all that here with the new data in a few minutes.
Next, Wendy.
You can't help but tap your toe and snap your finger to that. It is some of the finest work from one of the, well, he's the most talented sons. Charlie Parker is a legend in jazz, and this week his legacy is being remembered with the 4th annual Charlie Parker celebration. We have Steve Hargrave with us, who is with KC Jazz Live. And Steve, thanks so much for being here. You've got a big week planned. We're talking about 12 days of celebrating Charlie Parker.
Right. Right. Thanks.
What's going on? It starts Thursday.
Starts a little over 48 hours from now with a lecture at the American Jazz Museum. That night, our 2 featured artists in residence perform at the Blue Room, Tavon Pennicott and Sullivan Fortner. We've got a grand finale the following Saturday, or Saturday the 26th, at the Folly Theater, big concert, which you can't miss. It's going to be terrific.
You're really trying to engage all ages in this 12-day celebration. What's happening?
That's exactly right. We feature the venues. We feature 15 different venues with 25 different events at the existing jazz venues to tell people this is where you can go to listen to jazz 365 days a year. There are places for you to go, and these are the places that we feature.
Kansas City is just a jazz mecca, I think. What is it about jazz that really catches the heart of people listening?
Well, it's a uniquely American music, and our tie to it is Charlie Parker. Miles Davis used to say that you can tell the history of jazz in 4 words: Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker. So that's what we're trying to get people to understand, to relate to, and to experience by going out to the venues and hearing it live.
So people who don't know Charlie Parker, who never experienced that, some of the younger people who are listening, what is it about Charlie Parker? What was his brand? Why is his history so important?
He changed the course of jazz. It was heading in one direction with swing, and he turned a sharp corner into bebop, and that's become the mainstream of jazz over the last 50 years. It's a unique change that took place. Some people didn't like it because it suddenly wasn't very danceable necessarily, as swing music was, but the artists fell in love with it immediately, and the public has been somewhat slow to follow. It's not for everybody, but it may be for you. So that's why we're trying to give people an opportunity to sample it during the celebration.
Take a listen. Enjoy some Charlie Parker. 12 days of events. It's going to be on your website, all of this information.
CharlieParkerCelebration.org.
And here's the event on Thursday. It's Thursday through the 30th of the 29th of August.
That's Charlie's birthday. Would have been his 97th birthday.
That's a perfect day to end the celebration. Right. That sounds good. Well, we wish you luck, and we hope everyone gets out and enjoys the Charlie Parker celebration.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks, Cynthia. Outside right now, we have some cumulus clouds. They've been forming every afternoon, and today is no exception, but we do not expect them to become cumulonimbus clouds. No thunderstorms here this afternoon. It is warm at 80 degrees and very humid. The dew point is 72 and not much of a breeze, so the kids not in school, it's a good day to go to the pool. All the thunderstorms have been across Nebraska and Iowa in the last 24 hours. The closest thunderstorms right now are in southwest Iowa, and a few are beginning to form along the Missouri-Iowa border, and this will be the case here the next couple of hours, but I think they're going to stay up to the north. And for us, we're just going to be partly cloudy, warm and humid. An isolated shower or thunderstorm is possible, but the chance is about 5% of seeing rain here this afternoon. That will change as we go into Wednesday, and by 7 a.m. already rain and thunderstorms getting very close to us, if not already here. So tomorrow morning's rush hour, there's a pretty good chance for rain, thunderstorms, some very heavy downpours, not expecting any severe weather and not expecting any widespread flash flooding with this, because the thunderstorms will not just run over the same area for several hours. Now, that being said, with the very heavy downpours, you could get some quick small areas of flash flooding. So something to keep an eye on here as we go through the day. So the chances of rain tomorrow are in the morning, could affect the morning rush hour. Then we believe there's going to be some kind of a break where we'll get a little bit of sunshine in the afternoon with maybe a few thunderstorms around. And if we warm up well into the 80s, then the thunderstorms along this front could be strong to severe. If we stay in the low 80s because there's more clouds, then the thunderstorms along this front later tomorrow afternoon, evening, and into the night could be heavy once again, but the severe threat would be low, and they're not just going to train over the same areas, running over the same locations for several hours, because look at this. It moves on. The cold front blows on through, and by Thursday morning we have some lingering clouds, maybe a brief shower, and then Thursday is going to turn out to be a really nice day. High pressure moving in, sunshine, temperatures in the 80s, and less humid air will move in. Total rainfall for this next event, well, some good news for the Corn Belt. The driest areas of the Corn Belt are Nebraska and Iowa, and it looks like some pretty good rain up there, maybe a 1/2 to 1, 2 inches of rain on top of what they got today. And for us here in our area, about a 1/2 to 1 inch. And again, a few small locations could see 1 to 2 inches of rain. There's a heavier band on the data to our northwest, but this could shift north or south by 50 to 100 miles. It is thunderstorm weather, but it does not look like as nearly the kind of rainfall events we had here the last few weeks. Let's go to the eclipse. Monday, look at the latest data. This is exciting. On Monday at 1:08 p.m., how about this? Hardly any clouds, and here is the path of the eclipse. And on the latest data, there are no clouds. That would be great. It's still several days away, but the trend is your friend, and I do like that a lot to see that. We don't need any clouds. 87 at 4 p.m., partly cloudy, warm and humid at 8 p.m., 81. A nice evening at midnight, 76 degrees, partly cloudy, and not expecting any thunderstorms, a few along the Missouri-Iowa border. Now, tomorrow is a different story for the kids along at the bus stop. If you have to go to school tomorrow, well, pretty good chance of rain at 8 a.m., and at 3 p.m., a 30% chance of thunderstorms with temperatures in the low 80s, and then more thunderstorms is possible after sunset tomorrow night is possible as well. So 83 at 80% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow, 83 on Thursday, 85 on Friday. There is a chance of rain Friday evening or night, and then it's out of here on Saturday. And looking at the latest data, we are in a good shape here for Sunday and Monday. If there are any thunderstorms, maybe briefly Sunday night or early Monday, but the latest data has the clouds getting out of here by 1:08 p.m. on Monday. So that'd be nice.
That would be really good. Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Construction crews are almost finished renovating the White House. This morning, crews laid fresh blacktop along the driveway. Other workers moved the furniture back in. Over the past 2 weeks, crews have replaced the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. The repairs and improvements cost some $3.4 million. The president is scheduled to return to the White House next week. All right, add another name to the growing list of business executives resigning from President Trump's American Manufacturing Council. Late last night, the CEO of Intel announced that he will no longer serve with the group of corporate leaders. He said his decision was based on the worrying direction of U.S. politics. He is the third chief executive to leave President Trump's American Manufacturing Council in less than 24 hours. Well, Prince is being immortalized in the world of color. How you can paint with that purple rain. All right, we are are following breaking news this midday in Lenexa. This is a live look now from Sky Tracker at the scene of a deadly crash. This is northbound 435 at 87th Street. You can see traffic has now been reduced to one lane there. So investigators are on the scene here. Emergency crews are arriving. There was a white car. The front end was just crashed in and smashed in. We're going to continue following this again. A deadly crash, 435 northbound at 87th Street. Traffic definitely backed up in that area, so try to avoid this if you possibly can. We're going to continue to follow this on 41 Action News on our website as well as our mobile app, and we'll have much more coming up on 41 Action News on the air later today. The purple one is getting his very own shade. Prince is being honored with a custom color. The Prince Estate and Pantone Color Institute teamed up to create Love Symbol No. 2. It was inspired by his purple Yamaha piano. His estate said the color is a way to help the musician's legacy live on forever. Well, the San Francisco 49ers made a big-time acquisition at wide receiver, at least for one practice. Hall of Famer Jerry Rice put on the cleats and took part in practice with the 49ers Monday. He still has some moves, even at age 54, with the way that he ran patterns during the individual drills. Good to see him. What a player. I saw him actually play at Arrowhead. It's incredible to see.
I wish the Chiefs had him. He is one heck of a receiver, I know. And he still was catching balls in his 50s. Unbelievable. 87 today, no rain, a good chance of thunderstorms tomorrow in the morning, and then again later in the day and at night. And then some great weather on Thursday. Right now the eclipse looks good, but Gary Lezak will be here on the Now KC with an update on the thunderstorms and the eclipse forecast.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for watching 41 Action News Midday. We're back tomorrow.